Oh, say, can you see? Now that, there's even a phone number, but I think it's an older phone number. They're advertising D Hart's Garage. That's one old truck right there. Actually, I'm gonna get out for this one. This was for NASCAR, when NASCAR was going on. Ooh, that is old. Yeah, it does say Chevrolet. Puppy's old. Nearly looks like Tomater. Doesn't it? I would say Tomater. 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 That's an old truck. I'm gonna check this one out. That is an old truck. Look at this stuff. This is great. This is D Hart's Garage. 24-hour thing. Or it used to be. Look at that old back right there. They might fix her up and get her running. Coming out of Florida right there. This is a show truck is what it is. There's not a alarm or anything on it. Oh wow, the window's broken. This is like an abandoned truck. Look at the spring. Can you see the spring things right there? Look at the old instruments right there. Old school, just simple instruments. This is dangerous though. There's some glass right here. That one's missing. Tomater. That's what this looks like. Tomater. Cars. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Well, we're off. Leaving Northlake. Had to finish up some office stuff, if you know what I mean. You know, yeah, I'm pretty serious about running for president because I don't really feel that I would be able to change laws or any specific law really any other way. I mean, my whole purpose isn't necessarily just to change laws, but that's one of the president's fortes, is their ability to veto laws, change laws. And if God puts something in my heart, if I'm struggling, I'm sure other Americans are struggling too. This is our time for reform, but we can get ourselves out of the Great Resignation and understanding the struggle. One major problem that we're dealing with right now is maybe even motivation. It's time for us to pick ourselves up by the bootstraps and start following our dreams. If we don't do that, then we're going to be in big trouble. Here's the thing about the situation that I've been in since the pandemic and since I left being a banker, because I used to be a banker. I have got this far in survival simply by following my dream. Now, I don't think that our country really is in a true great resignation state. We're supposedly in the Great Resignation. There was once the Great Depression, there's been a Great Recession, over the past 100 years. Of course, we got out of the Great Depression in the 30s because of a great president that did not fear itself. That was the only thing that we had to fear, was fear itself. And we know not to do that. So we don't need to say that we're resigning. If we say that, then we are resigning, and that's not what we're trying to say. Not everyone is resigning. I'm not resigning. I found a way to get the show up tonight by being creative in my pursuits. There's Bucky over there. and my pursuit of happiness, and my pursuit of my dream. If we follow our dreams, we find our happiness. Didn't Walt Disney do that? Now, Walt Disney did not get to enter into Walt Disney World for the opening, but he got to work on his dream until the moment of his death. And Walt Disney World is a majestic place. Our country can be a majestic place. We can find peace again if we think like family. We all have to join together and think of ourselves as family. That means white and black and other colors need to blend in. And we need to think like family. So here's some problems I've mentioned before about our country. One thing, the pandemic. That's fear, right? We don't need to fear that. If you want to get vaccinated, but don't fire a police officer for choosing the fact that he does not have to forfeit his ideas and his beliefs and even his body, well, at least his belief in what should go into his body to keep his career. And this is going to be part of police reform. But let me address first CDC. Let me first address this, okay? Because there's going to be a shift in the Please Subscribe show and in Cole Spivey. First, we have a fear that's out there of a virus, okay? We're afraid of something that can hurt us, and that can be a good thing. But fear is never a good thing, but there's fear out there. And the vaccine is creating more of a confidence. We're still wearing the mask even though we're vaccinated. We're still keeping 6 feet when we can. We're still practicing rigorously so that we can lower the counts, the body counts, the death toll of Corona-19. I think we're going to win. And it's not a hope thing. I know we're going to win. I know we're going to conquer the pandemic. I know we're going to overcome. Now, secondly, I want to address racism and hatred, which is about the same thing. I don't think we're at utopia, or we wouldn't be dealing with money problems and financial things and all these weird laws and stuff that people, okay, we would not be dealing with all this stuff that we have to deal with every day to day as people. Money is a form of law. Money is a representation of what's called legal, well, it's legal tender. It's a representation of law. It's a minute form of law, and it's something that is here. And I don't think we're mature enough as a civilization to rid money and move on, aka Star Wars, or not Star Wars, I'm sorry, Star Trek, aka Star Trek kind of existence kind of thing, right? Where there's no money in the future. I think there was money in Star Wars. Forgive me for the Star Wars fans and Comic-Con. I'm talking about Star Trek. Star Trek is different. Star Trek. I'm sorry, I'm from the South. Star Trek. So money's a problem. Let's just put it that way. Okay, I'm going to keep this. I'm going to try to wrap it up. But let's go back to race. Let's go back to talking about the second part of the war that we're kind of in. First, we're at war with pandemic. Now we're trying to find a way to solve. I'm not going to say, I have to be careful on how to frame the second part of the war, but our war on hatred. There we go. Our war on hatred. We had a war on terror. We kind of conquered that since 9/11. There was terror out there. We haven't completely conquered it, but if we conquer the war on hatred, then we could start to understand what we need to do with racism, because it's a form of hatred. Now, Martin Luther King Jr. had a dream talked about this dream being so real to him. It was like it was time for the black man to cash his check and to become part of this country. He used the check as like a metaphor, as like a symbol, because back then the black man would have problems cashing checks. But now it's time to address racism alongside of hatred. We as a white culture have been hateful. Okay, I don't want to make people feel guilty. Okay, this is the whole debate that's going on in South Lake with Carol and everything. And I don't want to make any Anglo-Saxon person feel guilty. But you know, we are the majority, we're not the minority. And there's some disgusting things that has happened to some important people. George Floyd was possibly an important person. Listen, any person that's killed, that's a whole generation of people that die, that fall, right? I have dealt with racism in my past and had to try to overcome it. I had a problem with it. And if white people can say, listen, I have a problem with it, what does an alcoholic have to do? They have to admit they have a problem. And then they can start to become better. And God has put me in many situations to try to overcome the racism in my life. So that's the first thing we have to do as Anglo-Saxon, WASP, white Protestant, white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, right? That we have to face up and say, okay, maybe I have a problem. Maybe it's time for me to shake hands with a black guy. Maybe it's time for me to befriend a black person, to celebrate other cultures. That's how we do it. We celebrate by friends. So we celebrate by being friends with different cultures, is what I was trying to say. Now, I've had friends that have done this, and I mean, I've had friends that have celebrated multiculturalism, that have known about celebrating other cultures. Now, about police reform, man, I've had personal experience. And not only that, a friend of mine was possibly abused by a state trooper in Denton County Jail. Linda possibly was abused by being thrown into solitary confinement over a very minute charge, a misdemeanor. And the police officer was maybe possibly rough. So then we need to change the psychology so they go the de-escalation route and not lose their jobs because of anger issues. So we need to look at that as a way to retrain the police officer in psychology so that they learn to de-escalate rather than go to aggression, right? First, they go to de-escalation, not to aggression. George Floyd should not have been killed over a piece of paper, regardless if it was counterfeit. He didn't counterfeit that. He didn't even know it was counterfeit. Most likely, he probably didn't even know. Yet, he was killed over it, over a piece of paper, regardless if it was money or not. I worked at a bank. There's counterfeit money everywhere. It's pretty bad. But you don't go and kill someone over it. De-escalation, not escalation. Two major things. One, we're dealing with CDC. We're dealing with the pandemic. We're dealing with a virus. Address it. But don't force people to have to be vaccinated. But yet, address it. Allow people to be vaccinated. Don't force. Second of all, let's address hatred by knowing that it's real and overcoming it. Let's work on police reform. Those are two things. There's many, many other things too. I want to bring back family to America. Let's not lock up poor fathers that may not be able to cover something that Gerald Ford thought was going to work. But right now, with the pandemic and people barely surviving, it's getting bad. I'm dealing with it personally myself with child support, paying child support. I'm dealing with it myself, and it's very painful. Right now, it's even dangerous because we need to use our money to fight against the pandemic just as much as trying to support our family. My wife abandoned me. She's not allowing me to see the kids. But I understand right now that that's an issue. But I think it needs to be, I think there needs to be some de-escalation in that and reform in that. And the fact that we need to give the poverty-stricken a chance to breathe. Maybe that's why I'm in the situation that I'm in. Also bring back family to America. How are we going to celebrate culture if we don't think as we're all family? We don't pay to go to a Thanksgiving feast. We don't pay our family. It's given by grace. So we need to bring back grace to America. And in doing that, we'll feel the family there and be able to celebrate cultures. But there is a culture of the poor that we need to address. It says in the Bible that the poor shall inherit the earth. The meek shall inherit the earth. We need to realize that the poor are important people. We don't want them to be poor, but allow them to live. Let them work through their problems. Address the poor as well. Okay, so those are some 3 major important things. We've got CDC virus, we've got police reform, and we also have to address family, even rich and poor, so that we can think like a family again in this country. Let's bring family back to our country too. Later, I'll talk about church and state and how I feel like some of the laws are going across the border of church and state. Allow the Christian to be a Christian. Allow all religions to be that religion. Allow them to be able to celebrate their beliefs. And that goes for every type of religion too, not just Christianity. The Christian understands that there's different people and they want to worship in their own way. That's an important issue that we'll talk about later. Okay. Good night. It's October 19th. I have to cut this and deal with things. You have a good night. I'll be sending this up to you. I love you. Please subscribe. And thank you. So tonight's special box is Christmas stuff. We're going to unpack that and then send the box back over that way and get more moved in. And the toilet is still running. Christmas tree. Decided maybe just go ahead and put on Christmas stuff October. Yeah. Kind of get used to Christmas now kind of thing. I'll hang it later. Well, decided to have some dates and polish off a few cookies. Found out why we were half-staffed today. Colin Powell, he died. He's a great military leader. Anyway, y'all have a good night. Try to send these up from the office, my secret office, a little bit, maybe tomorrow. I'll cut this one for like a final vlog. I think I already sent out 4 of them. All right, y'all have a good night. Please subscribe.